The Springboks did not do well at all against Italy and Georgia. South Africa did what was required against the Azzurri and Lelos. These are the arguments you've heard, and today you are going to get a front row seat as I give you my top 5 positives we saw this month, as well as the top 5 areas of concern for Dr. Rassie Erasmus and his men. Let's begin with the positives before moving on to the areas of concern. Number 1, building depth. Throughout these test matches, we saw Doc give opportunities to debutants and less experienced players. Just in that Georgian test, for example, Rassie fielded a front row that had 0 caps between them. I thought Boan Venter, Magnus van der Merwe and Neetling Forshire all performed well. Earlier in the month, Vincent Chituka played his first test for the Boks and also put in a good shift. Asenati and Klabakanye and Ethan Hooker also made their debuts for their country against the Italians, as did Kobus Visser. Further to that, Doc also handed out chances to players who are less experienced at this level. Edwil van der Merwe being a great example. This man has truly grabbed the opportunity by helping himself to 4 tries in his 2 test matches this month.
Sent it wide for Eddie the Eagle!
His prowess in the air is also something I find very impressive. Number 2, lack of injuries. There were several players who returned from injuries this month. Some of them have missed a little bit of action, while others were back in the Springbok jersey for the first time in a year. To that end, it was great seeing players like Eben Etzebeth and Faf de Klerk playing for the Springboks again. Grant Williams has also been out of action. Siya Kolisi hurt himself before the Barbarians match. We were told it was just a stiff neck, but those neck muscles didn't loosen until the Georgia test. Very weird if you ask me, but okay. And then maybe not exactly the same thing, but Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu hurt his hip in the warm-up in Nelspruit. Doc sent him for a fitness test, and it was agreed that he would play. I think we would all agree between ourselves that test against the Lelos was not the best we've seen from Sasha, but I'll have no doubt that he will be back. And to come back to the original point, we got through these July test matches without any serious injuries, and that is only going to be a good thing. Number 3, versatility. When Canan Moodie made his Springbok debut, it was on the wing. Even then, there was talk of him moving to outside centre, and now we've seen it in action properly. I thought Canan impressed in the 13 jersey, and not only does this showcase Moodie's versatility, but it also means we have more options with Jesse Creel and Lucanio also around.
He has ball in hand, back inside again to the Canan Moodie!
And then I have to talk about Andre Esterhuizen, the inside centre wrecking ball, who is also now a flank. This is the modern day hybrid player in action. All I can say is that from our opponent's perspective, this is a case of be afraid, be very afraid. Number 4, traditional strengths. I thought we scrummed well, especially as the month wore on. So much so that our scrum was at its weakest in the first test against Italy, but by the Georgia match, it was on song.
Keen to clear if he must, but he cuts down.
Now, I'll discuss the weaker side of things when I come to the areas of concern. Not necessarily scrumming, but maybe the first test against Italy, but we'll keep that for the weaker moments, because that line-out maul drive of ours is as effective as it has ever been. We often bullied our opponents and scored several tries using this tactic.
Now, Van der Merwe waiting for his opportunity to pounce on the line. He's in again.
And that brings me to number 5, innovation. We saw the Springboks try a few things, especially against Italy. The 2 things that stand out the most was that kickoff in the second test. We deliberately, I believe, kicked short to force a scrum. Many say Andre Esterhuizen was also purposefully offside. That went down like a lead balloon with World Rugby and the others who hate us. The other fun thing to see was the line-out innovation. Well, line-out simulation anyway. In the middle of the park, our scrum half would pass high to a lock who had already been lifted and bound to effectively form a line-out. From there, we could maul and drive our way over for a try. I loved it. Many overseas were moaning. Now let me come to the 5 areas of concern. Number 1, the breakdown. Now, yes, you can complain about the referee, especially in the first Italy test. You can accuse the Italians of being offside, hands in the ruck, obstruction, etc. To a lesser extent, the Georgians too. But there are two things at play here. One, we seem to encounter this almost every time we play against the All Blacks and Ireland in particular. So I feel like, yes, we can complain about it. Yes, we can moan about it. Yes, we can point out the shortcomings, perhaps, of the officials, but it's something that is just not going away. I also saw something very interesting, that in terms of statistics, we are now giving away fewer penalties at the breakdown. And that could be a deliberate ploy from Rassie for us to actually do less at the breakdown, i.e. giving ourselves less of a chance of giving away a penalty. And I can see the wisdom there, and clearly, at this stage anyway, it appears as if Rassie and the staff have decided that they're willing to sacrifice the breakdown in order to give away fewer penalties and then make up for that or compensate for that in other areas of the park. It's just something interesting for us to keep our eyes on, I think. Secondly, the fact of the matter is that we struggled at the breakdown in all three tests. So that is also true. So remember, two things can be true at the same time, but I'm not yet sure if I want to say we are struggling versus we're deliberately not competing. We're deliberately not getting our hands dirty. As I say, something to keep an eye on, because we absolutely have to be better here in the Rugby Championship, and I believe we will be. But let me also just say that I clearly recall last year, especially against New Zealand, that we were actually second best in that area, and we still won both tests anyway. Let me also just say that we don't have to dominate the breakdown, and this is where what Rassie appears to be doing comes into play. We don't even need to be winning the breakdown contests overall. But I do think it's not good for us to be bossed there. We simply have to be more competitive. I'll say this again though, I do believe we will be. Number 2, Maul Defence. Now this is something that I think we can fix quite easily. We saw Georgia score against us in Nelspruit, pretty much using our own weapon against us. When that happens against the Springboks, it raises eyebrows. But it wasn't even an anomaly. This happened to us against Italy too. Only the Azzurri drove us more than 30 meters. That's twice now that this has happened to us just in this month.
The Azzurri have some go forward here and a good strong formation that remains. Now they splinter away again and they're over the line.
We have to sort that out. Otherwise, I have to also say that generally speaking, our defense was actually solid. So it's not like there's an overall problem here. And speaking of it being an easy fix, that brings me to number 3, lack of cohesion. Now this is nitpicking on my part. I think the only reason we sometimes look disjointed was because a lot of these players have not played together as much. Also, there were players coming back from injury, and it's true that Rassie fielded a lot of debutants and inexperienced players. There were also new and or different combinations that he was testing out. And he said as much after the tests. I think we all knew that barring a disaster, we were always going to win these test matches. So a great opportunity to throw a few players in and see how they go. This is only listed among the negatives because I couldn't legitimately put this among the positives. Number 4, lack of intensity. Now this is an interesting one. We saw this not throughout each of the tests, but at times during these matches. This is also a fairly easy one to explain away. New players, players returning from injury, already leading by a large margin, and then some players actually struggling to get themselves up for tests against the smaller nations. That's just the reality. Springbok Rugby World Cup winners have even told me that if it was up to them, they would have played the All Blacks every week, because they found it difficult to get themselves going for matches against lesser sides. Is that ideal? Of course not. But there's a reality at play here too, guys. And finally, number 5, the elder statesmen. There were definitely a few players in July that looked like their time in the Springbok jersey might be coming to an end. Now, I wouldn't readily discard these warriors. Many of them have helped us win 2 Rugby World Cups, among other things. But no one is immortal. Father Time is the one sportsman who is undefeated. And there were at least 2 Boks this month that look to me like the end might be nearer than we think. That said, assistant coach Mzwandile Stick is on record as saying the coaches are not in the business of retiring players. In other words, age does not matter. If you can prove that you are fit and you can maintain your performance levels, you will be part of the squad. No doubt there are questions over performance levels of some of our older heroes, but let's see how it goes. As much as I've highlighted concerns here, strong showings against Australia in the first tests of the Rugby Championship next month would go a long way towards doing away with those concerns. But what do you think? Do you think things are generally in a very good space right now and there's no need to panic? Or do you think there were red flags raised in these 3 tests and Rassie needs to act now before it's too late? Let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, why not help me out with a super thanks? That's the heart button with the $ inside of it. You'll be able to make a highlighted comment. I'll hit the love button on your comment and I promise to reply too. You'll also have the opportunity to make a small donation to my channel. It's whatever you want it to be. It can be 10 Rand or 10,000 Rand. The reason I'm asking for your help is because I would love to do this full time. I would also love to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under with daily coverage. But I'll need your help to make it happen. Whatever you are willing to contribute, I'll be very, very grateful. And if you used to work at Eskom and you got a lekker payout, then I'm counting on you to do the right thing. If you're not yet ready to support me in that manner, you can also just spear tackle the like button, and you can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And you may have noticed the junior Springboks are the under-20 world champions. I put together a full review of how our boys beat the baby All Blacks and conquered the world. That video is on your screen over here, and if you've already seen it, why not check out this exclusive interview with former Springbok fullback Ricardo Loubser. You'll be amazed at what he reveals. That's on your screen over here, and I'll see you next time.